Okay, welcome everyone to this Masters Holocron informational video. Today I am going to be teaching you, because of 3.0, the changes and abilities and also rotation of the Watchman discipline for a Jedi Sentinel. First off, there have been several changes to the Watchman spec, including gear recommendations. For example, it's recommended that there be 7 accuracy enhancements, 2 surge, and 1 alacrity. Yes, alacrity. It's also vital because one of the things you need to do for your gear is augment it to increase damage output. For augments, it's recommended that there be 13 power and 1 accuracy. Now, accuracy, because as everyone knows, via 3.0, that everyone has lost their plus 3% increase to their accuracy. Now, the overview of the Watchman spec is that it is said to be the best sustained single target DPS build. It's even been stated by the developers that they intend it to be the highest sustained damage spec for a Sentinel. It also offers high survivability due to its passive proc spec heals. By that I mean, every single time you crit, it heals you for just a little bit. And with the Watchman spec, if you use it correctly, you'll crit quite often. A properly built end spec Watchman Sentinel will do 45% of their total damage with dots alone. And by that I mean any and all burn effects, such as what's left by Cauterize, for example, will put a burn debuff on the enemy. That's a dot. And 45% of the damage done is from debuffs like that on the enemy. Watchman, like I said, deals burn damage, which is elemental. However, the Marauder equivalent, which is Annihilation, deals internal bleeding damage. However, this spec is melee only and offers poor burst damage, but due to 3.0, was given an excellent update to AoE potential. Now, for Watchman 3.0, the Shadow of Revan, the new expansion, introduced quite a few changes to spec and playstyle. It now centers on consistent, yet restrained, play, compared to the adjustments of 2.0. For instance, neither the abilities Cauterize or Force Melt have a cooldown. However, incorrect use of either one of those abilities will eat your focus pretty quickly, leaving you a reduced, and I say reduced damage because you will be able to use your abilities less often. Also, a few of the changes to the spec include reduced illusion of choice, as it removed the skill trees and replaced them with disciplines. But you're also given an excellent choice of selection by the way, please apologize anything that does not sound professional. Like I said, the skill trees were replaced by disciplines, and you are given a choice of selection of your ideal utility talents. Not only that, but the general stat priority and rotation is essentially the same. Another unfortunate change, though, is that the damage output has been reduced. Accuracy is also more important, like I've mentioned previously, as everyone has lost their plus 3% increase to accuracy. And also because of that, alacrity is now useful. Now, opening rotation. For the opening rotation, these are based on 11 of your top 10 ability. Top 11, sorry. It's based on 11 of your top abilities. Force Melt. This is, by the way, due to total damage done per activation. Force Melt. Master Strike, which uses 2 galactic cooldowns. Overload Saber. Cauterize. Merciless Slash. Dispatch. Twin Saber Throw. Slash. Zealous Strike, Force Sleep, and Strike. This is not the rotation, by the way. These are just the top 11 abilities due to total damage done per basically click of the button. Now, for opening rotation, I'm going to do this slow and step by step to give you just a little bit of insight. Sorry, my screen went asleep. This will give you just a little bit of insight as to essentially how it's done for those who may not be able to keep up if I were to do this as fast-paced as possible. So I'm going to do it step by step. Now, according to Dolphy, and I have it right here, it says I should open with both Overload Saber and Force Sleep. Presumably Force Sleep, then Overload Saber, or vice versa. Either way would work. Then you want to go with Zealous Strike, Merciless Slash, Cauterize, Force Melt, Master Strike, another Master Strike, Twin Saber Throw, then Force Sleep and Overload Saber again. Then Strike, Merciless Slash, Cauterize, Zealous Strike, then either Strike or Slash 3 times. That's just the opening rotation. Everything I just said. I'm going to demonstrate it for you now. First of all, as a Sentinel, as a Watchman Sentinel, when you jump into battle, you want to build up your focus. Now to do that, either you use Valorous Call, which will give you an instant 30 stack, or you can use your Introspection ability, which is your out-of-combat class heal. And the only reason this trick works is if you have the appropriate utility point spec, which will allow you to build up a stack of Zen, I believe it's called, or centering, just by using your class ability. Now, as you can see right here, the Zen ability is glowing. That means I have a 30 stack. Now, what I'm going to do, by the way, Zen is very important because it basically forces, essentially, your next 3 attacks. No, sorry, I got that incorrect. It increases the critical chance of all your burn attacks by 100%, as long as Juyo form is active. Zen's effect changes depending on the stance you're in. For Watchman, you want to go Juyo form. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Zen, then use Force Sleep, and Overload Saber. See how I just did that? Then I'll want to go with Zealous Strike, Merciless Slash, Cauterize, Force Melt, Master Strike, however, because I cannot use another Master Strike again, even though it says to use 2, then I'm going to use Twin Saber Throw, because not only did I use all those other abilities, this one was procced. See how it was glowing? Then I'm going to jump in with Force Sleep again, and Overload Saber. Oops, sorry, I seem to be missing one of my abilities. Then Strike, Merciless Slash, Cauterize, Zealous Strike again to build focus, and then either Slash or Strike 3 times. A combination of either one will do. That right there is the opening rotation. Now, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't totally do it correctly. Which, of course, like I said, reduces damage and eats away at your force. So you want to make sure you do it correctly. Otherwise, might not be so well. Now, for core rotations, you'll want to start out with Merciless Slash and Overload Saber. Presumably, activate Overload Saber before Merciless Slash, because that will also add to the burn damage. And in Juyo form or using Zen, that increases your critical chance. Then you want to use Force Melt, Strike or Slash, Cauterize, Merciless Slash, Master Strike. It recommends another Master Strike, but in case that's not doable, Force Sleep and Overload Saber, Merciless Slash, Twin Saber Throw, Zealous Strike, Cauterize, Merciless Slash, Force Melt, Strike or Slash again, Force Sleep and Overload Saber again, Merciless Slash, Master Strike, another Master Strike, Cauterize, Merciless Slash, Twin Saber Throw, Zealous Strike, and Force Sleep. That is essentially your whole damage rotation as a Watchman Sentinel. What I read off there was the whole rotation. Basically, once you get to the end of Force Sleep, after doing all that, of course, rinse and repeat. Now, as Watchman, as stated, is the highest sustained single target damage, this is the PvE spec. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but I assume those of you who know, or those of you who do know, will assume this from the very beginning, if you're smart. However, if you're not, that's why I'm making this video, to help out. Now, I'm going to show you the core rotation. Now, what I'm going to do is, as last time, I used Valorous Call to instantly build stack. Because I have the utility point that allows me to do it by using introspection, I'm going to do that until I've built 30